This is TWiT.
Apple has lost a class action lawsuit, which is not Epic versus Apple or any of these other big ones. This is a completely different one related to developers wanting to be able to tell their users about other methods to purchase the content of their apps. So say, for example, Netflix can now say via email in support emails to people, you can also just sign up on netflix.com and it's cheaper. And similarly, YouTube, by the way, for people who are looking at YouTube Premium, cheaper directly through Google rather than through the App Store, because they're trying to offset that 30% cost. And so app developers are now, according to Apple, allowed to do this. I personally thought that via email, so out of the App Store, they were always allowed to do this. But what is most important is that there is a retroactive thing, and this is just for US developers, so it does not apply to me, darn it, where people can claim money back from Apple if they should have been part of the small business program, but it didn't exist. And it depends. So the amounts vary based on the developer's historic participation in the App Store ecosystem. And it allows people to claim sums ranging between $250 and $30,000. So for some developers, this is going to make a huge difference. And sorry, Scooter X in chat room has just reminded me or just prompted me. They did not technically lose this. They settled. Yeah. I think that was Apple's lawyers saying, we are going to lose this case, so we're going to settle it instead. Fair. That's usually what that means. Not always. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Yeah, so this is interesting. I'm glad that US developers are going to be able to get some money out of this. I wish European developers could too. That would be a very small chunk of change for me. But, it would be nice. I'm not talking about $30,000 being a very small chunk of change. I'm talking about the grand scheme of, what has come in through the App Store. Like $250 is not going to rock the boat here or there too much on that. Though that said, always contributes, new microphone may be required or something. But it is interesting that they have done this, and they've done this now before iOS 15 launches. I know a lot of app developers I've spoken to, I am an app developer myself, have said that developing for iOS is the only app way to make money. If you're going to pick between iOS and Android, then you're not going to make much money / any on Android versus iOS, where you are definitely going to make money. So it feels like developers don't really have much of a choice in this at all, especially because the other choice, Windows Phone, kind of just didn't work and does not exist anymore for that precise reason. But yeah, I think this is, I don't know if this is purely now timing to go, hey, people, get in on iOS 15 while the going's good. Or if it is just coincidental, but it certainly feels like maybe it was planned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I think this is all tied in with their ongoing lawsuit, or I think they did trial with Epic and things like that. So what is kind of interesting around the story of what Apple is communicating, basically, where they're like you said, on Bloomberg, Mark Gurman was like, they already allowed people to talk in emails to their customers and talk about alternative pricing. And I think there was like either a fear or like some people got punished, even though it's technically allowed. So they didn't actually change anything there. And it's kind of just like, we won't get mad at you for doing this. And I think it just does get confusing because it's not necessarily the same claims that Epic and companies like that are lobbying against Apple. And so they're not like addressing those problems. This is a separate sort of situation, but it also has ended up being sort of a PR win for them because it's like Apple is like making concessions on the App Store versus that's sort of just like combining it all into one story. So I think that was definitely an interesting part of this, is that like there's some great parts that were definitely necessary, but this isn't that overall story that like how Apple treats developers and things like that still isn't just immediately fixed by something like this. I'm sure the people who get the small developer assistant fund will be very happy, like you said. But it is, I think even just the fact that it's like a settlement for the US App Store only also makes it different. So it's not necessarily Apple changing their tune or anything like that. Is it's like,
no,
they were making these concessions in order to not continue that lawsuit. So
yeah,
but it's still worth
the world is bigger than the US, even though sometimes it does feel like it's very US centric.